By now we know that SPAC Nation and Pastor Tobi are crook and shams. The church operates like its very own gang. The Salvation Proclaimer Ministries Limited, better known as SPAC Nation, was told to shut down by the government on the 9th of June of this year, over being unable to account for funds of more than £1.87 million given to the church through donations and gifts. Now, SPAC Nation has always had an all-consuming influence / authority over its members and urbanised communities. That's where they prosper, since Pastor Tobi set up the church in the back of an internet cafe in London way back in 2008. Now, according to Pastor Tobi, he is a godly man. He worked in the internet cafe and would often see criminals destroy their community through drug offences, fighting, robbery, etc. And then they would come into the internet cafe in order to commit fraud by using the computers. Now, Pastor Tobi was tired of it all. The police weren't doing anything, so it was left to him. In that same internet cafe, he held weekly meetings, offered membership, and then began to recruit these criminals, telling them to repent and serve God. But how on earth do you serve God? So SPAC Nation says you serve God by giving. Give to the point that you sell your house. You take out lines of credit or take out loans. You sell your car and you hand all that cash over to Pastor Tobi and other ministers. There's over 200 ministers, so that they can dress in Moncler or Christian Dior or Fendi and live in multi-million-pound houses and travel in Lamborghini convoys in various exotic colours to show off to the rest of the world. All the while you're raising your hands up towards the ceiling, swaying and singing hymns in what looks like a run-of-the-mill community centre. Yet your cupboards are stuck bare, empty, and you can't afford to pay your bills, and your son or daughter, niece or nephew is still out roaming the streets causing trouble. Now, with the explosion of youth setting up gangs and putting their energy into music, thus creating drill music and drill sets, Pastor Tobi saw an opportunity. He saw pound signs. Now, Pastor Tobi set his eyes on recruiting drill rappers to serve as members of the church because he knew that drill rappers held the real power over the youth. Youth flock to what they know, so when a drill rapper talks about going OT or rivals, or they've done this to that person or done that to this person, we already know retaliation follows suit. Now, drill rappers were the embodiment or ambassador of the war on drugs, war on knives, war on violence, but also they controlled and ruled their own people. It's like for like, birds of a feather flock together. Now, Pastor Tobi needed that, because the funds of SPAC Nation need to continue. Now, most notably, he offered to write a character reference statement for young Dizz when he had his trial, in return for young Dizz attending sermons at SPAC Nation that could last up to 6 hours. Now, the drill rapper then got people under him to recruit members for the church. Pastor Tobi got his other ministers to help reach out to the drill rappers. Case in point, Kevin Yefeko, who was once young Dizz's gang leader, now he's turned church leader for SPAC Nation. He was the one who told young Dizz to come to the church, and young Dizz followed. Now, Pastor Tobi has gone on record to say, the younger the better. Now, the church mirrors that of gang organisations, with the emphasis of new members proving their commitment by signing up other young recruits and consistently earning the title of minister, evangelist and finally pastor when they can lead their own service and of course rake in their own money. It's like a Ponzi scheme. This process can take 6 months or a year, and their age does not matter according to Pastor Tobi. The younger the better, they says, since they're closest to the people still on the street. Just put that into perspective. Remember, on the surface, SPAC Nation claim it has notable intentions to support vulnerable teenagers who are rife in the street culture and could see no way out. Now, SPAC Nation says that they could reach the gritty streets that police could not reach, and in previous interviews, Pastor Tobi said that Scotland Yard will consult him with various issues surrounding London's gangs and drill collectives. Now, that's all thanks to the association that SPAC Nation has with these drill rappers. Pastor Tobi can be posted with K-Trap, AJ Tracy, Young Dizz, Rimsey, Loski to name a few. Now, in order to entice these drill rappers and these young people, a £100,000 ring from A Jewelers is a must, a Mercedes G-Wagon and a Bentley and a Rolls Royce is obligatory. Fendi is mandatory. The church game is the new drug game. The hustle is still the same. The plan is to indoctrinate, brainwash, strip these young people of their identity. Instead of selling for themselves, these kids are now selling for the church. Now, it was also reported that ministers in SPAC Nation told its members that it must get gifts for its ministers, and we don't care how you get it, even if you have to commit crimes to get the funds. And that's why Pastor Tobi needs drill rappers to be by his side. Drill rappers appear to be profit to these young kids, and their mashed up cycle. They idolise young Dizz, CB, Yanko, Digga D, Gully. They copy their image, their persona, their culture. And now, I'm not saying the church hasn't helped the community at all, but what I am saying is these so-called ministers have no certification, and they believe in the motto of self-service is what you can do for me. They take these drill rappers who already find themselves in trouble with the law, they put them on a podium to speak in front of the congregation and get the young people in and entice them. Then they prance Pastor Tobi around in their songs and in their videos and make him to be some kind of prophet, when all he is a media celebrity. Now, SPAC Nation is a sham, it's a cult, it has the same structure as gangs, and it's all down to Pastor Tobi wanting to be a celebrity. He wants to be a larger-than-life figure. Now, you know a church is doing something ungodly and wrong when you can't account for £1.8 million worth of gifts and items and monetary value. That means where that money has come from is nothing to be good. And that's exactly why Pastor Tobi needs these drill rappers, because of course these young people are the next generation and they are willing to do anything to get that money. Stay safe.